America's first and only candidate who has talked about strengthening or backing our dollar, our monetary system. And before I ask my question, I'd just like to tell you why I'm drawn to you. I have been and am a very strong Trump admirer. I hoped after his 2 terms that Nikki Haley would run, but I've lost my, really I've lost the feeling or she's just not the person. And I think DeSantis is a good man, but he's more like a maybe a lineman or a fullback. He's not the quarterback, and we need a quarterback. And I think you're here for that time.
I appreciate
that.
Now,
my question is where you got the idea of a composite commodity index, and how do you see that being developed to actually help our dollar?
Well, thank you. It means you've been paying attention to what I've been saying, and I appreciate that, sir. Just to bring everybody on the same page, I think one of the underappreciated headwinds to our economic growth has been that the dollar has been wildly volatile. The Federal Reserve has been trying to play God, printing money from on high like manna from heaven for 25 years, claiming to hit inflation and unemployment. It's like the equivalent of hitting 2 targets with 1 arrow. They've missed on both. And so one of the solutions I've offered, it's not the whole thing, but one of the solutions is we will peg the dollar to commodities. We were on the gold standard before, and we actually had our greatest economic growth back when the dollar was pegged to the gold standard. And so today, the question of what I've said is I would peg it to commodities, gold, silver, nickel, agricultural and farm commodities, but commodities that have real value. And the point is to tie the hands of the federal government. That's the main objection. They say, oh, that causes the government to lose flexibility with respect to spending. I say, yes, that means you understand the proposal. That exactly is the point. Now, how do we do that? You're asking a technical question. Basically, the goal of doing that versus the gold standard is overcoming one objection people have to the gold standard, which is, why would we risk tying it to just one commodity? Whereas the point is, it's not gold itself that we're necessarily carrying to tie it to. It's carrying to tie it to something that has finite supply and real inherent value. Not something that's just made up backed by what we would call the full faith and credit of the United States government, which is itself denigrating by the day. And that eventually we're going to lose our dollar's reserve status as the world's reserve currency. So we will basically create a composite, gold, silver, nickel, agricultural, and we can debate which agricultural and farm commodities fit in there. But the goal is that brings down the long-run volatility, so we stabilize the dollar as a unit of measurement. And that becomes the sole mandate of the Federal Reserve. We don't need 23,000 employees to do that at the U.S. Fed. So I've said, like at so many of the agencies in the deep state, I will issue a 90% headcount reduction at the U.S. Fed. Get that done in my first year in office. And you know what? Part of the problem is when you have a bunch of people who are showing up to work, who should have never had that job in the first place, they start finding new things to do. That's where the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, came from in the first place. What is that? Just by show of hands, is that an issue that any of you have heard about? A few of you? So what this is an important issue, actually. And my rule of thumb is the more acronyms they use, the more boring they try to make it sound, the more we have to pay attention. Because it's actually designed to dupe us into submission. So what they're saying is they want to convert your paper dollars exclusively into digital dollars. Why do they want to do that? Well, they say China's doing the same thing. We have to keep up. Ask ourselves, why is China doing it? The answer is, China wants to be able to wipe out your bank account if you say something or do something on the internet or elsewhere that China doesn't want to see in the government. Well, that's coming right here to the United States. Anybody remember the Canadian truckers, the Freedom Convoy?
I remember.
Remember that?
Yeah, I'm a truck driver.
Oh, you're a truck driver. That's great. We actually released our truckers policy at Walcott at the I-80 stop here in Iowa, and so that's actually been an area I've focused on. And thank you for your, I would say, service to this country.
I took off work this morning so I could come in.
I appreciate that. We'll give you a question. We'll give you a question. Absolutely next. We'll give you that question next. But the truckers in Canada, they shut down their access to their bank accounts. Notice how you didn't hear from them after that. They're protesting vaccine mandates. They're protesting the lockdowns. They go to their bank accounts, wipe out their dollars or their access to the bank account. And what do you know? The government got exactly what they needed. So we should say, heck no to that in the United States of America. I've got young people here, so I'll ratchet it accordingly here, but that's what we need in the United States. And so I'll put the kibosh, put an end on the Fed Now program, which is this digitization of the dollar. It's a threat to our liberty. I'll peg the dollar to commodities. That's how we restore the value of the dollar. And once we do that, I think that's one of the key steps to our revival of our economy and the revival of our country. Thank you for asking that, sir, and I appreciate your kind words.